Hey, good morning, Trindium friends, and welcome to this week's episode of Patio Ponderings. Today, my patio is in Faribault, Minnesota, at the home of a friend and a colleague. But if you look straight back over this shoulder between the buildings and through the trees, you will see the Rice County Courthouse. And that ties in to what I've been pondering this week. So on Sunday, we continued working through the Sermon of the Mount as found in the Gospel of Matthew. And in the particular section that we covered, Jesus is looking at several of the laws that the Jewish people follow, and he is reinterpreting them through a kingdom lens. And as Jesus does this, what he makes clear is that fulfilling the law is about love for the neighbor, but it is much more than just not doing harm to a neighbor. It is so much more than just avoiding wrongdoing to our neighbor. It is about actively being in right relationship with our neighbor. And so we heard things like, if you are going to the temple to make your sacrifice and you're still angry with a brother or sister, go resolve that anger first. If you're on your way to court for a court case, resolve it ahead of time. Get your issues taken care of and avoid court altogether. And that's what's piqued my interest, because our criminal justice system works so very differently than coming to be in right relationship with each other. It is what we call a punitive justice system, in which the person in the wrong is punished somehow. Either they end up paying money in a lawsuit, or they pay by doing time in prison or community service, or whatever the sentence happens to be. And yet what God calls us to is so much different than that. We are called to a restorative justice system. We are called to work with our neighbor in love in a way that repairs what is broken, that brings us back into right relationship. And that is so, so difficult. You know, when we have broken relationships, there's so many emotions involved. There's hurt, judgment, shame, vulnerability. We have to set aside our pride in order to make things right. And it's just as hard if we are the perpetrators of the wrong. And yet this is what God calls us to do. Now, I think it goes without saying that sometimes in relationships, the brokenness is just too severe. There's danger, there's abuse. There might even be evil, right? When I think about what's going on in Ukraine with the Russians, there's real evil there, and it's pretty hard to come to a kind of reconciliation and right relationship. But Jesus tells us this, that we're not just called to love our neighbors, we're called to love our enemies. And so when there's nothing else that we can do, we're asked to pray. That might seem like an easy way out, but I would say that that's just as hard, to actually pray for the well-being of our enemies. I don't know how we pray for those who are perpetrating war right now. I have to be honest. That's something that I have been thinking about. And so I wonder, what happens when we pray for our enemy? I think what we'd like to happen is that God would strike down our enemy with lightning or something, make them have a change of heart, make them do the right thing. But I'm wondering if when we pray for our enemy, if the change that comes about isn't us. I wonder if it's our attitude that changes, that even in the most dire of situations with our enemies, if our prayer gives us a different capacity to cope with the situation, to work with the situation, if our ability to respond is maybe what changes in prayer. This is a big one to think about. Lots to ponder within the issue. As always, I would love to hear what you have to say, and I will see you on Sunday. Thanks. Bye.